Next step, I've cut out this vertical grained webbing. It's important that you have the grain vertical because that's where the strength comes from the process. Now, most of these should fit without any fettling, but they may need a little bit trimmed off the odd one or two. I'm going to use white glue for that, I think, yeah, white glue, glue it on and clamp it. Nothing clever to it really, quite laborious. It's not a job I really enjoy doing because of how laborious it is, but it does add enormously to the rigidity of the wing. So long as the wing's flat, when you do this on a decent building board, you'll end up with a straight, true wing. So I'm going to crack on with that. Once again, we'll probably do it, well, we will do it as a time lapse. I'll glue these on. I can find where I've put the brush. And I'll clamp them. I'll probably have to hunt around in the workshop to find some additional clamps. That's just a little bit too wide. As I say, there's slight variation in this plan. Now it sits on the top of the capping strip below, which means it doesn't need to protrude. So that's, I'll apply the glue along the edge, all the way along the edge here. Starting to need some new glue here. I've got more of these somewhere. There we go. Do the rest as a time lapse, and then once that's done, I think it's coffee time. I'll actually be leaving it for a few hours, and then we'll come back and do the top piece of sheeting and the capping strips. I'll lift the whole lot across for these last two, and then that's this wing done, bar the tips. Back soon. Last one to do, excluding the two at the end, of course. Well worth the effort. I have incorporated vertical webbing like this in designs where it hasn't been shown, where I've had concern about the wing being less than structurally sound, and it makes a huge difference for a small amount of weight. And there we go. Time for a coffee, I think. Stay tuned, folks. I'm about to sheet this area, and I'm going to employ a technique that I had always used with plywood sheeting, and that is applying white glue, letting it dry, and then using an iron to transfer heat through the ply, which then reactivates the glue. And I'd always shied away from using it on balsa because I mistakenly thought the balsa would be an insulator for the heat and it wouldn't work. But I watched Cliff Harvey using it, and he'd also shown a video when he visited a chap using it on large sheeted areas, and it works really well. So let's see how well it does work. I'm going to actually use a little bit of CA along the trailing edge, but what I've done, I hope that shows up, you can just see in the light, I hope, this white glue has dried, and I've also applied it onto here, and hopefully when I apply heat it's going to reactivate, but this corner bit, or the edge rather, sorry, is more difficult to do, so I'm going to do that part with CA. Apply the CA. So that's glued the edge down, hopefully. It's gluing my fingers, I know that. Now, with a bit of luck, the application of heat will reactivate the glue. Sure enough, it's worked. Really good technique. Particularly useful, otherwise you end up with the problem of trying to pin large areas. I could have used it on the trailing edge really effectively, but that's glued. Let's do the next piece, and I'm going to do the same thing. See along the join between the two bits of timber. And then I'll reactivate the dried glue. Oh, there we go. Now we just need to apply the heat. I'm just holding the position while it cools down, otherwise it'll obviously just spring back up. I think that's worked. Might need a little bit of glue along this part. Perhaps didn't put enough white glue right on the edge here of this sheet, but that's something I can sort out very quickly. There we go. Now, I'll take these clips off, and then it's a case of adding the capping strips and then the leading edge, and then I can lift it off the board and do the two end ribs. So let's do that. Having scarf jointed together the upper sheeting for the leading edge, I've also wet the outside and applied some steam, and I hope it's visible there. There's a curvature to this now, and that means it will take much better to the shape of the leading edge of the ribs. I'm going to do this with white glue. This time I'm just going to apply as it is, no heating or magic tricks. I'm going to apply plenty of glue along the leading edge and then leave it and come back to it and give it a sand when I've got to sand the leading edge itself. But I think this is going to work really well. Capping strips to do. I think I'll be able to get on with them actually while this is setting, and when it does I can lift it off the board and we can do the end tips, which will complete the building of the lower wing. So I'll apply the rest of this glue, come back when I'm ready to put everything on, and we'll move on. capping strips. I'm going to do this side, and I'm going to use CA to do that, simply because I think they're a little bit too delicate to be pushing pins through, and this nozzle applicator is perfect for this job. There we go, one at a time. The joys of building biplanes, of course, and even more so with triplanes, is there's another wing to do. All part of the fun. And this will be an extremely strong wing, I'm sure. Hopefully I don't test it out to the point where I need to find out how strong it is, other than doing some fantastic aerobatics. Scale aerobatics, of course. Right, I'll carry on doing this, and when they're all done and the front leading edge is dried, we'll lift it off the board and we'll sort out the tips. I've obviously lifted the wing now. I've also pinned it back down and glued these end two ribs. A couple of things to do. I need to trim everything off flush with this end rib. I need to cap these two, and way back when I started this process, the leading under edge is glued down, but it needs to be curled around, and to do that I'm going to wet this surface and steam it and then put it over and glue it in place. So I'll crack on with that, and then the final part is to add these tips. We'll do that as soon as this task is finished. The underside of the leading edge has all been bent round and it looks like a porcupine at the minute. Last parts to do involve putting the cap strips on, and I've cut them out and added the reinforcements on. It made more sense to me to do that now. And to lock them in place, I'm going to use some thick CA with some kicker, and hopefully that'll get them where I want them and firmly attached. So thick CA, there's an under camber on that front part. I'll hold it in position and then give it a blast with the kicker if necessary. It may not be necessary. Line it up with the back. I am going to give it a blast. And hopefully that'll do the job. I've enjoyed building this. It's gone together really well. There's no major hiccups so far. It's not finished yet. I need to put reinforcements for the wing spars. But I'll do a video on the wing spars and the reinforcements all in one. There we go. And of course, all that excess will be trimmed off when it's all dried. Quite happy with that. I'll repeat on this end. Hope you can see that. I think you can. Got to put a little bit of camber on this. needs touch sanding off there, and I found I needed to take a little bit off these triangular reinforcements. The angle, there's too much material there. Do the same here. And also need to clean this up a little bit. Don't know what that was. I think that'll do it. I'm just going to check the other end, make sure I've got them set up the same. Yeah, that's fine. So let's put some glue onto the end. I discovered how good this glue was a few moments ago. I stuck my hand to it well and truly. Normally I'm not too fazed by CA, but this stuff, I thought it's not coming off. But I managed to get it off. There we go. So that's a wing from start to finish. Took a couple of videos. Always takes longer than you think it's going to take. Move the junk out of the way. Things will be taken out later on today, maybe tomorrow. I'll give it a thorough clean up. And then, of course, being a biplane, there's another wing to do. Hope you enjoyed that. I hope you've stuck with it. If you have and you've enjoyed this sort of video, please subscribe if you haven't done so. Give it a thumbs up if you don't mind. And get creative. And if you can, get flying. Bye, folks.